Mario and Donkey Kong are best friends. Wait a minute. Are they enemies? Is this puzzle a lie? Liars! Okay, so they're not enemies, but Mario and Donkey Kong have been pitted against each other over the decades. The new remake of Mario vs. Donkey Kong literally has verses in the name, but it all started way back in 1981, with the arcade game Donkey Kong, of course. First game Mario appeared in, and you're fighting against Donkey Kong. Mario's debut was saving Pauline from Donkey Kong. Well, technically Jumpman and Lady. This was the beginning of Mario and Donkey Kong. Of course, we all know the story of how it went for both of them. Mario basically became the face of Nintendo with 2D and 3D games and being some of the best games on the systems, while Donkey Kong has kind of been forgotten. Donkey Kong Country was one of my favorite games on the Super Nintendo, and of course the song is still stuck in my head. Tropical Freeze was amazing, but the lower sales than DK Returns probably means we might not get a third one. Hopefully we do, but maybe with this new remake, Nintendo wants to see if there's an audience for Donkey Kong, which there is. So maybe with Mario in the title, it can help bring Donkey Kong back into the spotlight, especially after the movie. Or it could all just be random and Nintendo just saw Mario and Donkey Kong as an easy remake to make money or whatever, you know how corporations be. The original game itself was a fine puzzle platformer, where you play as Mario, released in 2004, late in the GBA's life cycle. 2 years prior, a game called Donkey Kong Plus was shown at E3, and it had a level editor available through linking the GBA to the GameCube. That game was scraped and became the foundation of Mario vs. Donkey Kong. I found this video online showing it at E3 that was recorded by someone at the event. I'll have the video in the description below. The game received good reviews on its release, and that's because it's a good game. The game has these cutscenes that show the story of the game. Basically, Mario has a toy factory where they produce mini Mario figures, and Donkey Kong sees the commercials for the figures on the TV, and for some reason he has a remote with only one button. The mini Mario figures are sold out, so Donkey Kong of course understands that he'll just have to wait until the stock is replenished, and he signs up for the reminder list and wrong! He doesn't do any of that. He steals the figures of course, and the cutscenes even have voice acting. Well, just the grunts and noises Mario says. But it still looks great on the GBA. The game has plenty of levels, and each level has 2 stages, the first one with the key, and the second one with the mini Mario figure. You have to get the key to the doorway to pass the level. Luckily, you got all the moves that you can perform with Mario. Backflips, side flips, you can pick up items and throw them, there's trampolines, ladders, ropes. The stages might not look like much, but the game puts a lot into them. There's also 3 boxes you can collect in each stage of the levels for a bonus minigame. The way you get the key to the door, well, that's up to you. The key also resets if you pick it up and drop it for more than 15 seconds. So you can just launch it across the stage, but you better get there quick. The second stage is a bit easier, needing just for you to reach the minifigure and picking it up to complete the level. Then you can collect your bonus from the minigame. In the first game of the series, you directly control Mario in the levels. But in the second game, you don't actually control Mario directly, you control the Mario mini toys instead of Mario. Here the game is all on the touchscreen, so you can control the mini Marios by tapping on them or swiping on them and they'll move by themselves. You can also tap to stop them or swipe up to make them jump. So now it's like you're Mario but you're controlling the mini figures as if you were Mario controlling them. And this game also brought back the cutscenes, and now Donkey Kong has a figure himself with Mario. But Pauline tells Donkey Kong Mario's toy is better, so Donkey Kong gets jealous, and of course... Yep. There's 9 worlds with a roof, and all the levels are slower, but also faster than the original game. When you have multiple minis running around, you can lose them fast and it can be chaos. A fun chaos. If you take the minis to the exit in a quick succession, you can get a chain bonus in each level, and the gold figures are worth more points. You can get the hammer items, the ladders are back, there's springs, fire plants, and Donkey Kong figures are here as well. There's also mini games like this one. It's whack-a-mole, but with Shy Guys. In the end, Mario discovers Pauline in a room filled with presents, and she forgives Donkey Kong for kidnapping her. You know how it be. The second game also introduced a construction zone, a level editor, that was the proposed one in Donkey Kong Plus game. Here you can create the levels like Mario Maker, and even send them to your friends, and you can connect online as well. The construction zone carried on to the next games as well, including the next one in the series, Minis March Again. Minis March Again on the DS was released in 2009 as DSiWare, and it was the first DSiWare with a level creator. Here is where the series changed even more. You still play the game by controlling the minifigures, but now once they start, you can't stop moving them. They'll continue on their path and you have to play with the environment to get them to the finish. And now the time bonus of getting multiple minis within a time frame of each other is actually a requirement. Once one mini Mario has completed the level, you only have a short time to get the next one, and so on. The pink blocks can now be moved around individually, like into stairs for example, and the following releases saw the same control scheme, where the minis keep moving the whole time, and the DS saw 3 releases, with Miniland Mayhem on the DS being the next one. Released in 2010, this time with the same 2 different cutscenes on each screen. And the blocks from the previous DS games are not like these rails you can create by sliding the stylus in any direction you want. Again, Donkey Kong kidnaps Pauline here because the toys were out of stock just like the game before. I like the concept of the first DS game though, being able to control the minis more than the automatic movement from the rest of the games that follow. So far, I do still prefer the GBA's version of controlling Mario directly, but the first DS one where you control the minifigures is also pretty interesting. It felt more like a puzzle and I felt like I had more control of the game. When the series went on to the 3DS with minis on the move, the series changed things yet again. This time, instead of using the touchscreen to control the mini Marios, now you have to play as the stylus that then controls the minis. Just kidding. The difference is, the game is now an isometric 3D layout puzzle game. Now you have to use pieces with the floor tiles to set the route the figure will walk in. And as soon as you put the first tile on, the mini Mario will start to walk. And it won't stop, and you have to make sure it doesn't fall off. You can use bombs to erase the tiles you've placed, and on the side where the tiles appear, you have to make sure it doesn't get full or else you lose. It released in 2013 and was exclusively an eShop game, digitally only. If you want to buy the game today, well, too bad. The gameplay change almost makes it seem like this wasn't part of the Mario vs. Donkey Kong series. If you remove the minis, it could have been another puzzle game. It does remind me of Toad's Treasure Tracker the way the levels are laid out, and the 3DS effect worked well with the type of game. Although it's a fun game, it seems very far from that first Mario vs. Donkey Kong, and feels more like it could have been its own spin-off. I like the mini-games, not the most creative, but I like when games have mini-games when done right. The best one for me being Cube Crash. The game changed the most of all of them in the series, but the next one brought it back to the main gameplay aspect, and that was Tipping Stars on the 3DS and the Wii U. Mario vs. Donkey Kong Tipping Stars. Here, the gameplay goes back to being a 2D view and leading the minifigures to the level door. The soundtrack in the game is really nice, like in all the games up to this point, and they use old Mario songs. These games were released in 2015, alongside a Wii U version, which was the same game. This game was actually the first game to offer a free copy of the game on the other system if you got one, by giving you one 3DS code and one Wii U code. Those games were also released physically in Japan. After the eShop closure, if you want to get this game, well, too bad again. This was also the 200th game that featured Mario. Donkey Kong does what he's been doing in these games the whole time. You would think by now that they would either A, stop inviting him to the events, or B, reserve one of the figures for him so, he won't do what he does. But alas, there was only one more game left. Mini Mario and Friends Amiibo Challenge for the 3DS and Wii U. The last game released before the new remake was Mini Mario and Friends Amiibo Challenge for the 3DS and Wii U. Say that 3 times fast. Once again, the series changed. This time, you control the hand that then controls the stylus, in which controls the touchscreen. Now, the real change on this one from the previous games isn't the isometric view from Tipping Stars, because this game brought it back to the classic 2D view, but now you need an amiibo to play the game. The game requires you to scan an amiibo to play. Wow, you think I'm gonna buy a plastic figure just to play a game? Oh yeah. The amiibos listed in the game unlock the mini character from that amiibo, but you can also scan any amiibo you have, but if they're not part of that list, it'll unlock a character named Spec. All my amiibos are still sealed, but for this video, I'll open one. In fact, I'll open this Pikachu one right now. It's done. It's sealed no more. These amiibos are lighter than I thought, but they're really nice quality. Now, I can scan it into the game and start playing. It's more of the same game. Instead of controlling the minis now, you control what you scanned, in my case, the mini spec. And it's the same game we've seen before. This game is also shorter compared to the previous ones, with more levels available the more amiibos you have. Some levels have extra exits that can only be accessed by using that character. The game was free to download when it released in 2016, so I guess if you already own most of the amiibos in the game, it's probably the best game to utilize the amiibos in the core gameplay, since Mario and Donkey Kong is still a great puzzle game. I don't know if it'll be worth buying all the figures just to play everything the game has to offer, but it had mixed reviews with Nintendo Life giving it a 7 out of 10. Well, good thing I didn't open all of them. Now when people ask if I keep my amiibo sealed or not, I can be that one person that has both. Finally, the remake. Well, it's not out as of the recording of this video/upload, but there is a demo on the eShop, which means everyone can try it out, including me. The remake of that first game brought it back to the origin of the series, and honestly, it's probably the best options. Every other one utilized the touchscreen, which the Switch does have, but only in handheld mode. So assuming if they remade the other ones, they would use the Joy-Con remotes pointed at the screen. Not a bad idea, it's been done before, but the GBA remake was a great idea by Nintendo. A series maybe not known to younger people, but now with the movie and Donkey Kong kinda back in the picture, maybe they're testing the waters for another DK game. Come on, please, no whammies, no whammies. For $50, I'm not sure it's worth the price. DK is always getting the short end of the sticks when it comes to pricings. Wait, they remastered the cutscenes? Okay, $50 is worth it. If you've never played a game in the series, I guess the $50 price tag actually seems nice next to $60 games, and they also have a 2-player mode now which feels natural to the game, especially on the Switch. We'll see how the game does, and Nintendo should have made an amiibo for the release. You know, one last one for the road, alongside Sora. Luckily, I printed a figure for myself. This one, Donkey Kong can get. Oh, hold on, someone's at the door. Let's see, who could it be? Donkey Kong? Oh no, he wants the minifigure I have.